What happens when a movie franchise reinvents itself as a weekly television series built outside of Hollywood? Out of an international co-production, a reset timeline, a new series took shape. So how did a failing movie franchise turn into one of the most successful action shows of the 90s? Let's find out. This is the history of Highlander, the series.
Born to be kings, we're the princes of the universe.
After the Highlander film sequels damaged the reputation of the franchise, producers Peter Davis and Bill Panzer knew they could not continue down the same path. The franchise had lost its focus, the mythology was confused, and audience trust had taken a big hit. So instead of forcing another sequel, they began looking at television as a way to rebuild the world slowly and carefully, episode by episode. Christopher Lambert was aware that Davis and Panzer were exploring a television series and helped move the idea forward by introducing them to Christian Charest, the president of Gaumont Television. He immediately saw the international potential of Highlander and had the company purchase the rights. That decision reshaped the project at a fundamental level and pushed it away from the traditional Hollywood model, which meant Highlander was now being shaped by committee, geography, and currency exchange rates. The earliest versions of the series look very different to what we actually got. The plan was to follow Connor MacLeod in the years leading up to the gathering, effectively turning the original film character into a weekly television lead. The casting began for an actor to take over the role of Connor. More than 400 actors were screened and Derek DeLitt was selected. For reasons that were never explained, he exited the project before filming actually began, forcing the producers to look for another lead. Adrian Paul had been the first actor originally to audition for the role and was brought back into consideration. At the time, he was largely unknown with only a handful of small television roles. The producers were hesitant, but eventually agreed that Paul had the right look and screen presence to appeal to both male and female audiences. The biggest shift came from Paul himself. He suggested creating a new MacLeod rather than replacing Connor outright. This approach allowed Christopher Lambert to appear without undermining the original film and avoided immediate backlash from the fans. Paul was also uncomfortable stepping directly into such an iconic role and felt the audience would reject him even if he tried. That decision led to the creation of Duncan MacLeod, an immortal from the same clan but with his own history. The pilot episode still carried clear traces of the original plan. Duncan owned an antique store, faced a brutal immortal opponent, and shared several storylines that closely mirrored Connor's introduction. As the series continued, the writers expanded Duncan's background and personality, gradually separating him from the film's version and establishing him as his own character. The mythology was also reshaped in ways that would define the series. In the films, the Quickening functioned mainly as a power source. In the show, it became something a bit more complex. When an immortal was killed, their knowledge, memories, and part of their soul were absorbed. This meant that the violence carried more moral weight. An immortal could be changed for the worse by absorbing darkness or pulled towards the light by killing a noble opponent. Suddenly, killing another immortal came with emotional baggage, not just lightning effects. With the core concept locked in, the casting focus shifted away from finding a lead and towards building a world around him. At the center of that world was Alexandra Vandernoot, who was cast as Tessa. She was introduced in the pilot episode as Duncan's mortal partner. She lived with him and co-ran the antique shop. Alongside them, Stan Kirch was cast as Richie Ryan, appearing as a young street thief who breaks into the antique shop and witnesses Duncan's confrontation with another immortal. After learning the truth about the game, Richie becomes part of Duncan's life. As the series expanded its roster of immortals, Elizabeth Grayson joined as Amanda, a thief introduced as a reoccurring character. In Season 2, Jim Burns was cast as Joe Dawson, introduced as Duncan's assigned watcher. Later, Peter Wingfield entered the series as Methos, an immortal revealed to be approximately 5,000 years old. The music played a central role in establishing the tone of the series. The opening theme was the same as the movie music Princess of the Universe by Queen, taken from the band's 1986 album A Kind of Magic. Each episode opened with a montage of scenes from Duncan's life, accompanied by narration and the Queen theme. The structure remained consistent throughout the series, even if the narration itself changed across the seasons. The original incidental score for the series was composed by Roger Bellon. His music underscored both contemporary scenes and historical flashbacks, adapting to a wide range of periods while maintaining a consistent musical identity. His work became a defining element of the series and was recognized within the industry. The series received nominations for the Motion Picture Sound Editor's Gold Reel Award. The combination of Queen's theme and Bellon's original score gave the series a distinct audio identity that separated it from other syndicated shows of that period. The series premiered in 1992, and from the onset, it drew attention for repositioning the franchise on television following the mixed response of the sequels. Early critical response focused on how the series approached the established mythology. Critics noted that the television format allowed the story to expand beyond the limitations of the films. As the show progressed, critical response shifted towards recognizing improvement in storytelling and consistency. Several critics identified later seasons as stronger than the initial run, citing they had a clearer direction and a more confident execution. Filming was split between Vancouver and Paris to satisfy co-production agreements. Paris production segment presented additional challenges. Filming was disrupted many times by flooding, permit issues, and interference from large crowds. The police were involved on several occasions, and during a season 2 shoot, a production manager was briefly arrested during a dispute related to film permissions. Also, during the same season, the series experienced its first major cast departure. Alexandra Vandernoot chose to leave the show due to the demands of the production schedule and the requirement to travel constantly between Europe and North America. As a result, the character of Tessa was written out and killed off. Vandernoot later did return to the show as a guest star. Another significant cast change occurred in the 5th season. Stan Kirch's character, Richie Ryan, was killed off in the season 5 finale. The decision was written directly into the story and represented a deliberate creative choice rather than a behind-the-scenes dispute. From the beginning, the series relied heavily on physical performance rather than visual effects to sell its action. Sword fighting was treated as a core skill, and the production committed to extensive training and choreography. Bob Anderson served as the show's primary fight coordinator during the early phase of production. He had previously led the British Olympic fencing team for 30 years. He trained Paul in the traditional European sword fighting styles that form the foundation of Duncan MacLeod's combat approach. Paul's training expanded beyond fencing as the production continued. He studied Chinese martial arts, including Hung Gar, and worked with stunt performers and martial artists trained in Korean and Japanese styles. During the Paris production segment, choreography responsibilities transitioned from Bob Anderson to Peter Diamond. Beginning in season 3, F. Brown McCash became the primary fight coordinator, and he remained in that role for the remainder of the series. After 5 seasons, the series entered its final phase under mounting production pressure. By the time the 6th season was approved, the renewal was unexpected and came with reduced financial support. The syndication funding delays resulted in a shortened final season consisting of 13 episodes instead of the usual full order. A combination of the reduced episode count, schedule constraints, and the uncertainty about the franchise's future all concluded to the series ended after season 6. Home media releases played a major role in extending the life of the series after its original broadcast. In 1995, the series was released on VHS in 4-season sets. These releases used the European broadcast cuts, which included approximately 4 minutes of additional footage per episode. The DVD releases followed in the early 2000s. Anchor Bay Entertainment released all 6 seasons on DVD in Region 1 between 2002 and 2005. In 2018, Visual Entertainment re-released Highlander: The Complete Series on DVD in Region 1. The 22-disc collection included all the original episodes plus the spin-off series Highlander the Raven. For fans who want to add the series to the collection, I've added a link in the description below, and there should be a card popping up on screen to help you check it out. After the disastrous movie sequels, Highlander the series redefined the franchise by establishing a separate continuity from those films. Instead of continuing the original movie's storyline, the series created an alternate timeline in which Immortals still existed after 1985. This approach allowed the mythology to expand without being constrained by the film's ending. Following the end of the series, Highlander the Raven launched as a direct spin-off. The show starred Elizabeth Grayson as Amanda. The Raven only lasted one season, consisting of 22 episodes before being cancelled due to low ratings. The series' mythology continued through feature-length projects. One of them was Highlander Endgame that was released in 2000. It reunited Duncan MacLeod and Connor MacLeod and acted as a bridge between the television series and the film franchise. Personally, I liked the movie until they killed off Connor, but overall it wasn't bad until this one. Highlander the Source, which premiered as a made-for-television film set years after Endgame. Now, outside of television, the series expanded into other media. Official novels were published between 1995 and 2000 and were considered canon and were incorporated into the Watcher Chronicles database. Audio dramas produced by Big Finish featured Adrian Paul reprising his role as Duncan MacLeod and were set after the events of Endgame. Additional audio releases followed, focused on supporting characters, including Methos and the Four Horsemen. The legacy of the series rested on its transformation of a troubled film property into a long-running international television success. And we're not done yet. Next time, we dive into another cult classic. Until then, why don't you check out our previous video on The Fall Guy.
Tough ex-cons in a nudist camp could be too hot, even for the Fall Guy.
Thanks for watching, please like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.